Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
So here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and unless you have a TV set up outside in the backyard, well, I'm glad you're out of the heat and inside watching our show tonight because it's going to be a good one. And you know, in New Orleans, so you know the only thing people are talking about right now is the start of Saints training camp. Well, the team just completed their 5th practice yesterday. It was a heavy rainstorm, and a much-needed one, I should say, because they had literally 4 days of sweltering heat. But the team had a well-deserved day off today, but on Saturday, day 3, that's when the fun began because the fans were allowed in and the pads were put on. And I got to say, right now, the Saints, well, they've had a great first week of practice. I mean, fantastic, and it looks to be a deeper team than they've had in years. Listen, Sean Payton, well, he's even been relaxed. He's confident. You can see he's got that self-confidence working right now in his press conferences, and sometimes he's just downright jovial. In fact, when he returned the return game, he compared the return game to The Bachelor. He's saying, hey, he's waiting to see who's going to get his rose because they've got 12 guys competing to see who's going to be a returner. But I got to say, number 9, we all know who he is. We're getting a little greedy and we're getting a little complacent because number 9, well, you know, Drew Brees, he is still number 9. This guy has been absolutely awesome once again at age 39. His passes are still as crisp as they've ever been. And you don't really get a true appreciation of it unless you're sitting right there at training camp watching it from about 5-10 feet away. It's truly remarkable. He's still the man. Hey, Alvin Kamara, the Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, running back. Well, he had that NFL record, 7.7 yards per touch for a running back. That's never been done in the history of the NFL. Well, he and Mark Ingram, they were both Pro Bowlers, and they are looking sharp. Michael Thomas, I can't say enough. He had one of the best moves ever I've seen in a training camp against Ken Crawley. Completely turned him around. He is a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. But the biggest eyebrow raiser has been the rookie 3rd-round pick, Tre'Quan Smith. They are doing great in the 3rd rounds lately. He has been an acrobat, catching passes all over the field. He has been one guy that the Saints will be able to count on this season for sure. Let's go to defense. Speaking of rookies, Marcus Davenport. He is getting his full of Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead's about to have a Pro Bowl year, but Davenport's learning from the best. He will be a starter at least by midseason, maybe earlier. Other newcomers, Demario Davis, Kirk Coleman, they're going to be huge factors on defense. And the Defensive Rookie of the Year, Marshawn Lattimore, is already one of the best corners in the entire league. And my big prediction is that Marcus Williams is going to be a Pro Bowler. I think it's going to be this year, but if not, definitely by the following season. Hey, let's move on to LSU. Their practice begins Friday. Well, they're in a quarterback quandary. You know, Coach O, he's got a month to decide on whether it's going to be Joe Burrow, the big 6'3", 220-pound transfer from Ohio State. He looks sharp. He's going to be a guy that they're going to be counting on probably. Miles Brennan, who looked to be the heir apparent. Justin McMillan, who played well in the spring game. Or how about Lowell Narcisse? He is a big dual athlete. He is a guy that was supposed to be on our show today, but the Tiger QBs, well, they have a gag order put on him. Hey, listen here. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame induction was this Sunday, and for the first time, all 6 of these guys were contemporaries of mine. I mean, guys that played mostly in the 90s, some in the 2000s, but none more than Larry, Wayne, Chipper Jones, one of my all-time favorite players. He was the first overall pick in 1990, a starter on the 1995 World Series Braves. They won the championship against the Indians. 19 years, all with the same team. That rarely happens. He was the 99 MVP and the 2008 batting champion, the only switch hitter in the history of the game that had 300-plus average, 400 on-base percentage, and 500 slugging. He was great. He was second in 29 other categories like hits, runs, RBIs, etc., but he was second to a guy named the Hammer, Hank Aaron, in 28 of those categories. The Hammer was truly one of the greatest ever. Hey, Jim Thome was another guy, 22 years, 12 years with the Cleveland Indians, 612 home runs, 8th in Major League history, 13 walk-off home runs, the most in Major League history, and he's one of the nicest guys ever. Vlad Guerrero, 2004 MVP, known as the best bad ball hitter in the history of the game. He played with Montreal, then the Angels. He's the first Angel going into the Hall of Fame. Padres closer Trevor Hoffman, 601 saves, second only to Mariano Rivera. He was 53 of 54 one season in 98 when they went to the World Series, and 2 teammates for 13 years. You had Jack Morris and Alan Trammell, 13 years playing together with the Tigers. Jack Morris, they won a World Series in 1984. And then Morris pitched only 1 season with the Minnesota Twins, but one of the most memorable Game 7s of all time when he beat the Atlanta Braves 1-0. He pitched all 10 innings against John Smoltz. Those 2 guys, his teammate with the Tigers going in is Alan Trammell, 20 years all with the Tigers. He was the World Series MVP in 1984. We have a great show for you. I have no Lowell Narcisse. I apologize for that. He couldn't make it, but we have Kevin Hanson, the Pelicans Summer League coach, going to tell you all about what's going on with the Pelicans. We've got E.T. from Dirty Dozen Brass Band. He's been with that band 39 years. And don't forget, we also have Zach Strief, who is the new voice of the New Orleans Saints. He's going to tell you all about that and what's going on with this team in training camp. Next on Primetime Sports. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, by the way, how about E.T.? 37-plus years with the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, and now he's going to do some stuff on his own, and he's going to be on this show later. And also, we're going to talk to Pelicans Summer League head coach Kevin Hanson. But right now, in fact, I've never brought a guest back after 2 months from being on the previous time. But Zach Strief retired a couple months back, and that's why we had him on. But since then, he has been named the new play-by-play broadcaster for the New Orleans Saints, replacing the legendary Jim Henderson. And I got to tell you, the voice of the Saints is a big gig. When I was a kid, there was somebody before Jim Henderson. I can't remember who it was. And then there was Jim Henderson, it seemed like, for 35 years. I have no idea exactly. But Zach Strief has been named that job. He's going to work with Deuce McAllister. And obviously, they're going to be traveling home and road. They're going to start in preseason. August the 9th on Thursday night, it's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. That'll be his first game. But here he is. We're going to talk all about that and how the Saints are looking in training camp. I told you in the open they had that torrential downpour yesterday, but it was 4 days of sweltering heat, and a few of us passed out. One, Deuce McAllister. I'm not saying names. But welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah.
How's everything going?
Everything's been going great. Exciting times, certainly for me, and I think for any Saints fan in the city, which the fun part is I'm a Saints fan now.
Yeah, you're a fan.
That's
you're
right.
One of us.
I'm a Saints fan, and so I'm as excited as everybody is, and I think that they have a chance to be really good this year. So should be a lot of fun, and obviously a lot of new stuff going on.
You look relaxed. I mean, last time you had the sport coat. You're all dressed up. Now you're like, screw it, I've been here.
Yeah. I was retired last time.
You were retired. That was your retirement outfit.
Time to put an outfit together, yeah.
When did all this come about? I mean, I'm just talking from the outside because I don't even know. When did you think that this might be something you wanted to do?
So WWL was one of several media sources that reached out when there was when Ian Rappaport ruined my retirement secret.
He does that to everybody.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to meet him one day and say,
dude,
I really wanted to tell everybody that, but no, he's doing his job. I understand that. So I have to be sympathetic now. I'm a member of the media. So
no, you don't. Actually, the guys that screw the scoop up, no, you don't.
Right. So I had went in and we talked about a lot of different stuff. We talked about, the sports talk type things, and even just being a talk show type host. And the reality was, like in most media, things have to be available or open.
Sure.
But we talked about a lot of stuff, and I'd met with a lot of people, and it was kind of in passing, like walking out the door. Hey, there is the only job that's really like fully open is the play-by-play gig, but that's play-by-play. So
how long ago was this?
This was in late February.
Wow. All right.
Late February, and so I kind of said, oh yeah, and I walked out the door, and by the time I got to my car, it was like that'd be pretty cool, and so I went back after a week or so and said, I'm going to retire. The only thing we talked about that I'm willing to fully invest myself in is play-by-play, and I think it was met with a decent amount of skepticism.
Well, I don't know if it's ever happened off the bat. I mean, when I was trying to think, and I didn't look this up, but I remember being a kid. Pat Summerall was the guy on CBS, and he was John Madden later, but it was Tom Brookshire. I didn't even realize he played because I was young until later. Right. He was a great player, Giants and all that. But absolutely. The thing is, I don't know, and I'm pretty sure he probably did some color before he became the play-by-play. For me, I think you go in uncharted territory. It's got to be daunting.
Yes, and Pat Summerall did. He did color first, and he did it right out of football. He took 1 year off and went into color. I've researched Pat a little bit.
He knows the history. I'm about to say.
I looked it up. Yeah, and so and Pat did do color for I think 8 or 9 years. So it is very unusual, and I know that. And the one thing that I've really learned through this process is just how impressive some of these guys are. And obviously, I have a ton of respect for Jim Henderson, and I got to be around one of the best ever. Certainly, if you're from around here, I mean, you can't be better than Jim Henderson. And so I do have a tremendous amount of respect for it, and it is a little bit daunting at times. The reality was there was an opportunity when they told me, hey, you have to prove that you can do it, but we won't tell you no. So I kind of set out and said, okay, I got to figure out how to do this. And really the hardest part of it was them saying, we'd like for you to not make this super public, which I understood. I didn't want to be disrespectful, and I still don't to the industry and the guys that are in it. And so rather than reaching out to every broadcaster that I know, I reached out to very few and kept it kind of internalized, and I listened to a lot of stuff, and I called a lot of games on my own, and actually started calling play-by-play and color at the same time to understand the cadence and what's the timing like. And I mean, really starting from point zero. But I learned a lot about it, and I feel like I've grown in it a lot, and there's a lot of growth left to do, and it is. It's daunting. It's exciting. It's certainly something that is very unusual, and it's caught a lot of interest. And all I want to do is do a good job for the Saints fans, and I just want people to love it, and hopefully in 32 years, which is how long Jim was
32.
there.
That's it. You've done research, man.
That's right. Hopefully in 32 years.
You went to Northwestern. I should have known this.
I hope everyone forgets that this is how it started, and that it's just kind of a cool part of the story and not the entire story.
Well, if you know Zach, if you know Deuce, this is a very intriguing combination. Besides the fact that I think, other than maybe Drew Brees, or including Drew Brees with you two, y'all in the last 2 decades, I think, are 3 of the most beloved Saints. And not just that, you're both knowledgeable about what's going on with the team, the inner workings, and you're both likable. That's a big thing in this business. I mean, you two, the chemistry on air is, I think, the most interesting thing about this whole thing, because, listen, there's not many I could say, oh gosh, you could do play-by-play, but as an athlete, if you had to ask me anybody on this team, it would probably be you and Drew Brees are the two that I would think of first, or that are recent Saints.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't ever expect to be grouped into any combination of Drew Brees and Deuce McAllister, so I appreciate that. But there's a chance for it to be very unique. At the end of the day, what I really wanted to do is be a professional play-by-play broadcaster and do a great job of setting Deuce up and making him look and sound as good as he possibly can. And I think that's part of that role. I don't want to become a color analyst that's like, oh, that was Drew Brees throwing the ball.
Right.
I really want to do it correctly, and at the same time, I do have a lot of insight into what's happening specifically with this team in order to kind of pass it to Deuce in creative ways, or to have us have good back and forth, good banter about analyzing what's happening on the field. I think there's going to be places for that that will make it special and unique. And hopefully we get to a point quickly here where that becomes very natural and people get something unique and different out of it.
And I love the way you said pass, because that is the difference between play-by-play and color. And I've done it both on a very much smaller scale. But the color analyst is the running back, the receiver. He's the one that gets set up, and he basically responds and reacts to whatever is asked of him.
Sure.
And you're the guy that's going to be setting him up with the pass. You're the Drew Brees of this thing. Now, going into this, is there anybody out there that you say, man, I don't want to copy anybody, but I want to be kind of like this guy?
Well, I don't think I can. I'll tell you this. I listened to more Jim Henderson than anybody else. He's so good with words. He's such a he's so unique. He has such a unique style. You can't do him. I listened to a ton of Joel Myers. Joel Myers is a good friend of mine, someone that I have a ton of respect for, that is just abundantly professional. It's just it's incredible.
No, he's good.
But what I'm really trying to do is pull things that I think sound good and try to do them in my own words and in my own way, because as hard as this job is, it would be even harder if I was out there purely emulating somebody. So I really want to make it mine. I want it to be unique.
Well, this just came up. I got to bring this up. Give us the genesis of this. Obviously, y'all know what Anchorman is and Ron Burgundy. That obviously is not Will Ferrell, but this is Zach Strief's version. Tell us where this came from.
So the Saints have a tradition. Every Saturday we have a Captain of the Week. And when you're Captain of the Week and you're that week's captain, they bring you up and they superimpose your face on a bunch of funny pictures.
I like that. All right.
And we sit in the team room and we all laugh about them and we vote on what is the funniest photograph.
Now, who superimposes it? Who does the actual thing?
Well, it's we have a pretty big IT department there with all the audio videos and all the film work that we do.
Funny. That's great.
So those guys kind of take it, and then it's kind of changed over the years at different points. People, some guys look like someone, and so it's kind of easy.
Sure.
Some guys don't look like anyone, and so it's like, how many embarrassing photos can we put your face on? And so it's been something that's went way back. And so when they went, it was the first night at camp, and it was the night that we made the official announcement that I had gotten the job. When I got there, the Saints had left that photo on the desk.
That's hilarious.
That was a little gift. Now, what's been really interesting, the photo's taken on a life of its own. There's a lot of people. It's a really well done photo. They did a good job with it. People back home think I grew a mustache, and I can't really grow that mustache.
You don't want to grow that one. That looks like a caterpillar.
There's a lot of people that think that's exactly
and hopefully you don't have that tie either.
People are like, you actually did that because you got this job.
I'm on radio, dude. Hold on.
No, I did not do that. So I wish I could take credit for it because it's pretty funny. But that's a little gift from the Saints.
Well, okay, I have to ask you. You've been at training camp for 5 days. You walk in. And now you're talking, were there any chuckles and giggles when you talked to Drew Brees as a side of the media or anybody else? I don't know who you've talked to, but what's their first reaction?
Well, I think everybody gets a little bit of a laugh out of it. One of the real benefits of this job for me personally was that I'm not necessarily a reporter and I'm not in analysis.
Right.
And so the conversations I've had with guys up to this point have been largely, how's the wife, how's the kids, how's camp, how's your knee feel?
Right.
Because
you don't feel the need to
mine,
report, right?
No, I don't feel need. Now, I will get into that eventually. There will be things that I do, and I'm sure we'll kind of look at each other and laugh a little bit because it is just different, And but what I really want to do on that side is to bring more of the human interest side of it. And there's so many guys that have incredible stories and guys that are doing really, really unique and interesting things that there's just not time to cover, especially in camp where it's like, it's all the nuts and bolts of camp, who had how many catches, who had the interception, who looked good, who looked bad. There's no time for it. And so I'd really like to do that and kind of open up some of these stories. And I think in today's kind of media landscape, it's so easy to be negative, and I'd really love to bring forward some of the really amazing stuff that happens with some of these guys, and I think fans in New Orleans in particular, with their love affair with the team, will appreciate to hear some of the good stuff going on.
I'm super happy for you. You've adopted New Orleans. Obviously, you stayed here. I think you've said you were going to stay here anyway.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you're happy in this, and I can see you're fired up, and that makes me excited for you. Obviously, there you are. You got a little side gig over there with the Port of Orleans. We'll give them a plug. By the way, if you haven't been, I'm just being honest. I get nothing out of this. Maybe, hopefully, a free beer. But on Tchoupitoulas, that is one of the finest spots I've seen for a brewery, and I've been to a few. That is really nice. If you haven't been, it's right down the street from Tipitina's, so congratulations on that as well.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Hey, by the way, your Super Bowl teammate, Jonathan Vilma, has also moved up rapidly. He's got the Saturday night game. He's going to be working with Mac Brown, and I think it's one of the guys. Who's the other guy he's working with? The play-by-play guy, I guess the host of that show. But he's Kevin DeGandhi. But he's taking Booger McFarland's place, who went to Monday Night Football, the former LSU star. But have you talked to him at all?
So we have actually a great group chat of former players with the Saints. And
nice.
JV is one of those, and good friend of mine. And look, he's done a fantastic job. And he's one of those guys they put on set, and it's like, Jonathan Vilma should have been doing this forever. You know, he's really good at it. And so we're super proud of him, and that's a big jump up for him. And so, now we don't ever say that in the group chat. The things we say in the group chat is more about, like, how he's too ugly for TV and how he doesn't belong there. And eventually they'll figure out he's a fraud. Yeah, there's nothing positive.
No props.
Just as I've gotten for this job, I actually, Scott Fajita told me last week, you need to turn your cell phone off for games because these critiques are not happening. This is not Monday Morning Quarterback. This is during the broadcast. We're going to be telling you all the things that you mess up. So it's a good group, and it's a fun chat and great way. I think it speaks volumes about the organization over here and how guys stay together 10 years later after their career. So, yeah, we're real happy for Jonathan, though.
All right, enough about you. Let's talk about the Saints. I think a lot of people want to hear about this now. Let's do a segue. This is in the business. We call this, when you talk about something, we'll go to the next thing. You just talked about Vilma, and I made a tweet the other day after watching 2 days of practice of Demario Davis, who looks like he's going to be playing Vilma's old position. And I said, I don't know exactly how it's going to go this year, but he looks to me to be the most athletic linebacker we've had since Jonathan Vilma. And I want your opinion on him and what he might bring to the Saints this season.
I think his athleticism and his physicality they're two things that we have not necessarily had at that weak side position. And, they're really going to let him run around and be clear of blocks. That will position in this defense is clean a lot, and they're going to let him run and make plays. And I think he's been tremendous so far. Had an interception yesterday. He has kind of a confidence to him, and it's not surprising if you watched any Jets football last year. That defense was not short on any confidence, and he was one of the leaders of that group. And I think that type of attribute is something that the Saints have really realized how important that is to bring in guys like that. And so he's brought a little bit more of a swagger to the linebacker room, but the whole defense has played well, but I think Demario stood out to all of us early in camp.
I know you were hurt last year, but you got to see a little camp, and I know there's not a lot of players on the defense left from when you were playing full-time, but out of the ones that you remember, who were the guys that gave you fits? It doesn't have to be necessarily defensive line, but who are the guys that you're like, man, this guy's a stud on defense?
Well, I did actually make it through camp last year, so I did have a month with them. Obviously, Cam Jordan is a tremendous football player. And
one of the best in the league?
Yeah, there's no question. And I'd like to take credit because I said that last year during camp. I said he's going to have his best season. There's no question.
He finally get national recognition.
Absolutely, and he deserves it. And, listen, he was a guy, unfortunately, that's a position if you get sacks, then everyone loves you. And a lot of times it doesn't tell the whole story. But
he's a three-down player.
Absolutely. Ryan Ramczyk came up to me after practice yesterday and was like, how do you reach him? You know what I mean? And I said, I'm glad that you're frustrated now because I had to be frustrated with it the last couple of years. He's tremendous, a really good player. I think David Onyemata is going to take a big step forward this year.
I agree.
Really explosive, and he's a guy, hadn't played a lot of football, was really, really green when we got him, and a guy that was brought in purely based on physical talent and abilities. And I think David has come a long way, and and to keep it rolling with those young guys, I think Trey Hendrickson has had a very good camp so far.
That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear your opinion because I know you went against him.
I know Trey's lost 10, 15 pounds. He's lost a little bit. He's got a great motor. I think his first step has looked faster this year. I think he's learned a little bit more who he is and the type of player that he needs to be successful. He was a guy that I think kind of came in with a chip on his shoulder, and which is great until your chip on the shoulder leads you to do things that aren't good for you as a player. And I think a lot of times Trey just wanted to hit somebody really hard.
Yeah, right.
And he's not some massive guy. He's not a small guy, but he's not humongous. And I think he's really learned how to play to his strengths, and I think he's looked really good up to this point.
Well, since you mentioned those two guys, I got to bring up Davenport. What are you seeing from the first-round pick?
I think he has all the physical tools and traits that you're looking for. I talked to Teron about him the other day, and he said he's the perfect mentality. He wants to get better. If he gets beat, he turns around and says, "What I do." He really has kind of a thirst for that knowledge, and he's with a great coach for that. I think Ryan Nielsen's one of the best D-line coaches in the league, and he'll give him all the information that he can handle. But he's still a young rusher, and he's an inexperienced rusher, and so I think he's stronger maybe than people had given him credit for.
Right.
The word that I've heard from guys is he's a load.
Look at him right there. He was a wide receiver at one point. I mean, look at this.
It was a few pounds ago, but I think he's got potential to be he's got every trait and skill that you need. It's going to take him some time. Don't expect the preseason to result in 8 sacks. I think he's going to have to learn how to use his hands, how to use his length, which is impressive. But he's got good power. So I think he's going to be good at the point of attack. He's not going to be a liability. I don't know if he's going to be a 10-sack guy in a year, but he may be because he has all the physical tools necessary. And everything that I've heard from every guy is he's doing everything the right way, which is encouraging.
Well, you said he had a thirst, and he was asking players. Well, speaking of thirst, the guy that credits you is Ryan Ramczyk, who played every single snap as a rookie. When you got hurt, he came in and everybody thought he might be good, but that's not an easy position to play as a rookie, much less every single snap. So kind of give us an idea of what he did for this team.
Well, not to mention he played every snap at 2 different positions. He switched left to right,
that's right, when he got
in
hurt.
A game twice, which is it's very difficult.
Explain that.
Spend a day being left-handed if you're right-handed. And
that's it.
Come back and tell. Yeah, because how many times have you eaten cereal in the morning? Well, eat it with your other hand.
Seems like you said this
See
before.
if you're any good at it. That's actually brand new. That was breaking for you.
That
was my hot take. I just came up with that on the spot.
Rack 'em.
That's right. So, yeah, it's very difficult. And I think you see 2 things with Ryan. One, he's mature beyond his years. So he doesn't act like a second-year player. He didn't act like a rookie. He kind of has that quiet calmness to him, a confidence that is not verbally spoken ever. I think Ryan knows what he's good at and what he's not good at, but he's immensely talented. And I think that's the part that I didn't have as a player, was just being immensely talented. He's got all the right mindset. He's the right makeup. He's a hard worker. He has all the physical traits, but he's really talented, and the sky is the limit for him.
It's hard to say any first-rounder is a steal, but he's the 31st pick. I think it's a steal.
I will say unquestionably he was a steal.
All right, I got to bring up the rest of the line because, in my opinion, from left to right, I mean, this is as solid as it gets. And you're an offensive lineman. I want your full opinion right now.
Well, I'm obviously a little bit
biased
in my opinion, but Teron Armstead's as healthy as he's been in 3 years. He's looked tremendous. He's really worked on his stuff this year. One of the things that's hard when you miss time is you just lose some of the nuances, which are so important. He looks great. Andrus Pete's been training, working out, coming back in. They're going to be slow with him after, breaking an ankle. But Andrus came back in good shape. He came back at a good weight. I thought he played excellent last year. Max, everybody knows. It's been spoken over and over. He's a tremendous leader. He's the pivot guy in that line. He makes all the calls. He runs the show.
Do you know when he's healthy? Like when's he? Because
Max or Andrus?
Andrus.
Andrus will be ready for the first game. I don't have any doubt. I think they'll be very cautious with him. I think they'll probably amp him up for the 3rd preseason game, and that'll be the goal. Maybe into the 4th to get him reps. But I think by the 3rd game, I would think that Andrus will be ready to go. And he's been at practice. He's been doing individual. They've been holding him out of a team. And a lot of it sometimes, it's not even the injury. It's the confidence that it's okay, especially when you break something. It's sometimes it's hard to snap out of that, that fear of what's going on down there. Is it still broken?
Right, sure.
And so it's just going to take a little bit of time, but the training staff does a really good job with that stuff. Larry Warford was outstanding last year. You talk about, it's hard to call a guy that they pay $9 million a steal in free agency.
Another steal.
But they just before him, someone made 12.5 and didn't play half as good as Larry did.
He wasn't as big a steal as Brandon Browner, right? Oh, no, Brandon Browner stole our money. That's right. I'm sorry. And Junior Gillette, too.
Flip it around. The dyslexia is back in.
There it is.
And then Ryan. So, yeah, it's a tremendous group. I think Jermon Bushrod is a great pickup.
Don't leave Max out.
I talked about Max.
What'd you say?
You weren't even listening to me. Max is just, he's that sturdy, reliable, hard-nosed leader.
I know a lot of Seattle friends of mine, and they are still mad about that trade.
Well, we smoked that trade pretty good, and Jimmy Graham's one of my best friends in the world.
Smoked him.
Yeah, I mean, and Jimmy's a great player, and I think he's going to have great success. We were very close to signing him, by the way.
I know.
I was actually trying to talk him into, it's not all about the money, Jimmy. Sometimes you got to.
But he's like, it's about the money.
We weren't close.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
We weren't close.
Right.
But Jimmy loves it here, and Jimmy wanted to come back pretty bad. I think he wanted to be back in the building. But
he's going to a pretty good place, so he's all right.
The starting line is great, and I think we have tremendous depth. I think Jermon Bushrod was a great pickup. Josh Laribius is wildly underrated.
Okay.
He's a really solid guy on the inside, can play center and guard. So I think we're in really good shape on the O-line, and I think Dan Rochar has really got them in a really sturdy, solid system, which you saw last year with as much turnover as there was on the line with injuries, and it was like nothing ever changed. And that's all a system being put in early in camp.
Look at this guy. He's going to be just fine on the air. Hey, real quick, I mean, I'm running past time, but I have to ask you, what's the locker room presence bringing back a Ben Watson? And then after that, give me the whole overview of you think the season is going to be.
Well, I think, bringing back Ben Watson, he's one of the best. Forget football, throw out professional athletes completely. Ben Watson is probably more capable of solving the world's problems than any human I've ever met.
I knew him in high school when he went to Duke before Georgia. I mean,
the guy is
phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. He's a tremendous guy. He's a tremendous person. He's a great father. He's a great husband. He's a tremendous teammate. So all those guys that are in there are going to benefit from having Ben around. And I'm selfishly glad that Ben's back because I get to see him. But I think this team has the ability to be special.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of things have to go right. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as assembling the best locker room and the best roster.
Ask the Cowboys.
Exactly.
13-3 is
things have to fall into place, and things, some things you can't control. We have to stay healthy. I think that getting off to a good start with 2 games at home opening up is important for us. But this team plays with a tremendous competitive edge, and I think that's something that had been lacking in the last few years. It's been interesting, but it's really been led by these young guys. So we have this young roster that's very hungry, and guys that were very successful that have the right makeup to continue to ascend rather than become complacent, which I think is the fear. So I feel great about this team. I think it could be a really special year, and certainly I'm looking forward to seeing how they do.
Well, don't say I never gave you anything, because we started the task tradition, I think the show after you. But here you go. We
awesome.
Got a nice. I got you a medium.
Thank you
very, medium's
that's
good for
perfect.
you.
That's perfect.
Okay, and by the way, you probably haven't used your other one yet. You can double them up.
I actually have.
Did you go?
I told you. I love this place.
Shays?
Shays Delachaise is fantastic.
Please tell them you came on the show.
I will do that for sure.
My man. I look forward to it, and I'm very happy for you. Congratulations. I know you're going to do a fantastic job.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
There he is, Zach Strief. Hey, give him a couple shows. It's not easy doing play-by-play. It's not easy doing TV if you've never done it, but he's going to be fantastic on the radio, and I can't wait for that. Hey, you know what? I was a little sad when LSU nixed the quarterback coming, but you know what? I had more fun doubling up this segment, and I'm going to have just as much fun next segment because I've got Kevin Hanson, the Pelicans Summer League coach. By the way, this is the guy that has been working with Anthony Davis. So you go to the game early. If you get there at like 5 o'clock, you'll see him literally feeding Anthony Davis, working with him. He's been doing it for 6 years since Anthony came in the league in 2012. Well, he's going to talk about him as well as the rest of this team. A lot of high hopes now that the Pelicans were 48-34 last season. We'll see. We're coming up next with Kevin Hanson. Don't forget Dirty Dozen brass band frontman E.T. He's coming up next too, right here on Primetime Sports.
Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. And I know it's football season. I love football, but all of you out there that know me well, I really love basketball. So I'm fired up about the next guest. I was trying to get him right before Summer League because he was named the Summer League head coach for the New Orleans Pelicans. Y'all know that. Basketball fans know you go out to Vegas every summer. It's a big event. I used to go when I was in TV years ago, and then I was an agent, was there every year. Haven't been in about 4 years, but I tell you what, after this Pelicans' first 2 games, I think this guy sitting next to me was like, I'm ready to coach in the NBA. His name is Kevin Hanson, and I said earlier, he is the guy generally credited with working with Anthony Davis pretty much every day since he was drafted in 2012. He himself has been with the Pelicans since 2011, so he was there for that strike-shortened year. Didn't go so well, which is why the Pelicans were able to get Anthony Davis. But here he is right now. Kevin Hanson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I think you're one of these guys that people see at halftime because, you know, Alvin doesn't do the interviews at the half, and, you know, you see the assistant coach. But I don't think a lot of people know exactly who you are. So kind of fill in, where'd you come from?
I'm from Huntington Beach, California. Went to University of San Diego, played 4 years there, and then I went overseas and played for about 5 seasons. Argentina, Germany. Had a great time, great experience over there. And then I got on with the Spurs through
Is
James
everything
Borrego.
in your life charmed?
Yeah.
You're from the beaches of the West Coast, and then you get on with the Spurs, pretty much the best run franchise.
I've been very fortunate, especially with the Spurs, learning in that program, getting in the video room through James Borrego, who I played with at University of San Diego, who's with Charlotte now, who actually brought me to New Orleans. He got me in touch with Monty. And you know, James Borrego was the assistant coach at the time, and vouched for me, and so I've been kind of followed him around for a couple.
Was that Monty's first year, or is that his
second year?
Second year. So your first year was the year Chris Paul left.
Yeah, exactly.
So you missed that excitement.
Yeah.
But you did get some in Anthony Davis. By the way, I should have done an advertisement, or at least got a sponsor for this show for the Big and Tall Shop, because I had Zach Strief, who's huge. Now, how tall are you, by the way?
6'10".
You're 6'10".
Yeah.
I just noticed it because I always see you kind of on the sideline and stuff, but I saw some pictures of you with the media in New Orleans, I guess, practicing for Summer League. And you're looking down on everybody. You look like the giant. And there's Scott Cushman to the left.
Yeah, well, Scott's probably about 5'6". So.
Oh, that's the shot right there that made me think, man, this guy really is tall.
I know.
But tell me about the Summer League, because you got that gig. What was your first thought going into it?
I was excited about the opportunity. You know, I've been waiting around for it for a while, and you know, sometimes big men get kind of overlooked as
they do, don't they?
For that opportunity, yeah.
Pat Ewing, I mean, you can go on and on.
Yeah, so it was a really unique opportunity for me to kind of gather my ideas, develop my own idea about my culture, how I'd want to run a team.
Sure.
And like you said, we hit the ground running. We were rolling early on.
But still, I mean, it's impressive. It's still impressive. I mean, those games, I mean, blew them out. I mean, I watched them, and it was textbook basketball.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I don't want to make excuses, but it hurt losing Frank Jackson in the first game.
That's it. You know, let's go there, because I think that's the guy people wanted to hear the most about. And Frank got hurt. But he had in 13 minutes, I think 12 minutes, he had 13 points. Yeah. And he would have been a mid-first rounder, I think, had he not been hurt. Coming out of Duke, he was a McDonald's All-American MVP, great talent. What are the Pelicans going to have in him, and where is he going to play? Is he a combo guard? Is he?
He's a combo guard, but we have a position in need at point guard. So that was the purpose of Summer League, was to have him play point and learn. And he looked really good doing it in about 13 minutes. But, obviously the injuries are the issue. An ankle sprain's nothing. That's like a paper cut in the office. It's like,
well, your first thought was he had the broken foot last year, right? Was that the first thing you were thinking?
Yeah. I was like, which foot was that? That's a compensation issue. Like that, it happens so often with injuries. Like you compensate, and the way he plays similar to like Russell Westbrook. The way he hits gaps,
full speed,
the way he just attacks gaps, his athleticism's out of control. And when you haven't played in a long time, which you hadn't played in over a year, things like that happen. You're going to step on someone's foot and roll your ankle. It's not
always.
Yeah. It was disappointing that we didn't get, he didn't get to grow a little bit more during the time there, and have an opportunity to play a bunch of basketball. But I know he's back in the gym already working out.
Is he working out here in New Orleans?
No, he's in Utah right now.
Right.
Splitting time between Utah, Vegas, and then he'll be in LA with Drew Holiday working out with him.
Nice.
So
nice.
he's fine. He's healthy. It's just one of those things. It's an ankle injury. We would have liked to have obviously had him. It would have been nice to have him and Czech play together and build a little bit of chemistry. But it was a great experience for me.
So you said Czech. Is it Czech? Is that how we pronounce it? Because I hear Czech. I mean, I hear Shrek.
I think it is Czech.
But he blew up as well. I mean, this is a guy. He was raw when he came out of Kansas. Only played there for a year, and I've seen a tremendous improvement. You're the coach. Tell the fans of the Pelicans what they're going to have in him next season.
Well, I mean, obviously a big time energy guy. You can't teach that. He's an elite rim runner and an elite roller to the rim. And that's hard to come by in the league.
No, it is.
Great hands, great touch. His biggest thing that needs to improve on is his defensive acumen.
Sure.
And that comes with playing basketball.
Right on.
Defending stretch fours is an issue for him. He has a tendency to suck into the paint, which Anthony Davis still does when he guards stretch fours. So, it's just something that big men gravitate towards helping a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're guarding these guys that can shoot the ball, forwards that can shoot the ball like that, that's a big no-no.
I happened to be on a flight with him. I think it was after the season, before summer, and he's one of the most polite, genuine guys. I mean, you'll ever meet. I mean, he's a special young man.
Yeah, he's the sweetest kid, and he is a kid. He's just coming out of Africa, coming out of Mali. He was just kind of. The way he was brought up was he always had like a handler and someone that helps him with his day-to-day.
Yeah.
And I've been on him to all right, you need to start doing things on your own. But, it's like.
Well, he was carrying his bags. I did see that.
Yeah, he does all that. But he's just a little bit naive in his ways.
Sure.
And it's really genuine, too, like you said. It is like, he's almost like an 18-year-old in that regard. Just hasn't really developed that yet. But it's great working with him. He's got the most enthusiasm to work and get better and, be great for his family and all that.
What is the relationship that he has with Anthony Davis? Because, he's getting to learn from one of the very best. And, you hear him in interviews and he's almost in awe when he talks about AD. Talk about that and then kind of segue for me, because you're the guy that's been working with AD. Yeah. I want to hear the progression that he's made in the last 6-7 years.
Well, I mean, Czech is trying to pattern his game after AD, and that's really hard to do.
Exactly.
But Czech's 21. I wouldn't, we're not going to see, the true Czech Diallo for another 5-6 years. Where he's a grown man and he's, the game slowed down for him a lot, which is essentially what has happened with Anthony Davis. The game has slowed down so much, and all these great players. When the game slows down, it becomes so easy because then they can just use their God-given talents and their skills, and they can dominate the game.
What makes Anthony special? Because you say 5 or 6 years for Czech, he might come out and become really special. But AD has always been a superstar, right? But we saw when Boogie went down, he became the guy to take over games. Yeah. Like when Jordan you're down 7, Jordan's like, I'm taking over. That is finally what AD's become. I don't want to say finally like he hadn't been doing it, but he became one of the top 5 players to really the best player in the NBA over that last 3-4 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest deals with AD is his belief in himself and his talents. Coming from where he came from as a young, unknown 6'3" to this great athlete, unbelievable talent. It's taken a while for his his ego to get to where his actual talent is.
Yes,
and it really came into fruition this year. I saw it a little bit the year before, but then there was like dips, ebbs and flows to it, and it was just this year was really special. I think playing early with Cuz, he was trying to do all the little things to make the team work.
He was trying to kowtow a little bit, make Cousins feel a little more welcome.
And that's a testament to him. But like Cuz's usage rate was at like 3rd in the league. I think AD's was 40th or something like that.
Sure.
So it's Cuz went down once we got over the whole shock of it all.
Yeah.
I think AD just his usage rate obviously went out off the charts, and he just became incredibly aggressive, and it was impressive to watch. He's always had the skill and the talent to take over games, but to see him do it on a nightly basis consistently, it was impressive. And I think we built such a good team around him, a group of guys that help him.
Sure.
Obviously, we're going to miss Rondo, but we got 2 other guys coming in that are really going to help him.
I think Peyton is going to come into his own.
Yeah.
Think about the teams he was on last year. Half the season with Orlando, half with Phoenix. Not much help. Those 2 teams combined didn't win as many games as the Pelicans,
Yeah.
and I think that's a guy. But what I want to ask you about is the importance of getting Nico when they got him, and thank goodness he shaved the beard, because he was not doing well the 13 previous games. And then all of a sudden, he just went on fire.
It's fun. Nico's a little bit of a mental head case.
That's right.
Dealing with him, he's just very emotional, like a lot of, Europeans are. So, like, he would have these highs and lows, and I'd just be like, just stay the course, we're fine. And then he shaved the beard and he took off. It was really cool. He reminds me of Manu Ginobili the way he competes.
Did you just say stay the course?
Yeah.
All right. When the Pelicans were going up and down, 19, 20, and 19, I kept saying all season, November and Twitter, hashtag stay the course. Everybody's like, you're a homer. You don't know what you're talking about. 32-14 from January 10th to the end of the Blazers series. Yeah. That's serious winning.
Yeah. And a lot of that had to do with getting Nico. Just filling that need, and I'm telling you, the guy's a competitive monster. He wants to win. He wants to do whatever it takes to help the team. Shaving the beard, obviously.
All right, now you have Nico. We talked about AD. Now you're adding another power forward in Julius Randle, because people say, hey, most of that 32-14 was without Boogie.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, not losing Boogie to when you were playing well, you're adding Julius Randle, another piece to the same team except for Rondo that you had to run with.
Yeah, he's a perfect piece of the puzzle, in my opinion. Gives us something we didn't have after losing Cuz, obviously. The physicality, just his tenacity, his ability to get to the rim, and a lefty. It's undervalued, but he plays on the right block. AD likes the left block.
It's important. Strong hand, right?
It is. So,
right. And he's active. He's active.
He's very active.
He had his best
really
year last
high
year.
Skill level. The way we like to play through our trail bigs, initiating offense, he's going to be phenomenal at that. We got to get him rolling to the rim a little bit more and playing in the pocket. But I think he's going to be a stud for us. That's an offensive foul.
Offensive foul. You see it. You know it. Hey, but that certainly is right there.
But he gets away with it because he does it all the time, and his tenacity is incredible.
All right, I got you sitting here. I got to ask you, the Pels, what are they going to do with the 3 position? I know last year you kind of had the 3-guard rotation. You had Etuan Moore playing over there, and obviously Drew, and it was Rondo most. What's it going to be for the perimeter guys this year?
I wish I could tell you. We were talking about it yesterday. I think we got to see how training camp plays out. It's going to be a competitive training camp. Guys got to beat each other out. Etuan was great there last year, but obviously he's undersized. But we have with him, we have 3 guards between him, Drew, and Alfred, who are all like size.
Right.
So switching becomes easy, which is in the NBA, switching defenses are really hard to score against. When you play against big 3s, that's where it becomes difficult, obviously. But most teams can't guard those guys.
I cannot believe I left the Task shirt over there, but you're about to get a Task shirt, and you're also about to get a Shea Delicier's gift certificate.
Oh, beautiful.
So, yeah, man, I apologize. I thought I had them right here. But anyway, this is a restaurant uptown. I know you've probably been to Delicier's. You've been around. This is another place on Maple.
Oh, nice.
Right there between Carrollton and Broadway. That actually, you have table service. And by the way, Task Performance, if you saw the Saints press conference, you're part of the family. Mickey Loomis had it on at the first press conference. Sean Payton had it on, and I've been wearing it since I moved back to New Orleans. The New Orleans company, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we have a shirt for you right there. But thanks, Kevin. I can't thank you enough.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. We got to sign the ball. And you know what? We're kind of all discombobulated. You're going to be the first person to sign in purple, so it'll stand out the most.
Good.
We'll sign it by Dell Demps. Why don't you put it right here? There you go. Alvin Gentry, Karl Malone. A lot of guys that you probably know are on that ball. Hey, got to thank Kevin Hanson. Hopefully this won't be his last time. We're only 4 minutes from the facility where the studio is, so he'll be back. Coming up next, though, one of the greatest musicians in New Orleans. His name was Efrem Towns. Everybody calls him E.T., and guess what? He's been with the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, even though he only looks like he's 40, but he's been with that band for 37 years or so, and he just dropped out. He said, you know what, I want to explore some new options. What a great horn player. So he'll be coming up right here on Primetime Sports next. Thanks, man. Oh, welcome back to Primetime Sports. And how about that? A little Stevie Wonder by my man Efrem E.T. Towns. Hey, I made a mistake. Remember I said he was with the Dirty Dozen Brass Band for 37 years? It was 39 years. One of the great legendary New Orleans brass bands. But you know what? Now he's gone on to do some stuff on his own. He wanted to branch out. So here he is for the second time as a guest on the show, but he's played music here a few times as well. Here he is, Efrem. By the way, first of all, welcome to the show. I want to ask you a question. What have you been up to? Is that what you've been up to?
I've been wondering if you really love me. I think you love me.
The man that speaks with his horn, that is a trumpet, one of the most renowned trumpeters here in town. By the way, not just in New Orleans, you play all over the country and the world.
All over the world, pretty much, yeah.
By the way, everybody knows you as Dirty Dozen.
Yes, sir.
But they always know E.T. And you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, look at you. You lost some weight. Obviously, you've been in the gym.
No, I've been on my bicycle riding up and down. We don't have hills in New Orleans, so we have bridges.
Right, we got bridges.
Yes, I pump up the bridges and pump down the fans and I pump up to the top and doing these cardiovascular things, and it's really been helping.
Well, you got a glow to you. You look fantastic. Congratulations on that. What are some things you're going to be doing now that, you know, you left Dirty Dozen because you said, man, I want to do some new projects, do some stuff of my own. What's going to happen?
Well, I've been writing a lot of songs and I've been writing songs for a while, but now it's time to put, you know, the fruits of my work into use. And so I'm re-recording soon. And then I've been home for a minute. I just wanted I missed a lot of things in New Orleans, a lot about it. And so now I sit at home now. I'm getting out and I'm starting to book clubs now. I think I'll be starting some things at Maple Leaf on Fridays evening, a little jazz thing. Me and a duo, guitar player, some stuff like that. And eventually I have my band playing up at different places, playing some of the music that I've been writing.
All right, man. I mean, it's hard to believe because you look young. So you must have started in that band when you were, what, 5 or 6?
Felt like I was 5 or 6.
Like, no, little, you were a teenager, though.
Actually, about 15, 16 years old, yeah.
I mean, what was it like traveling? I mean, I guess everybody was kind of young back then. And I would see them, they're a bunch of grown men. Was there any guys much older than you back then?
Everybody was older than me.
Right,
I was always known as, I was introduced as the baby of the band for many years, you know. But I never looked at it because my whole life I never really hung with people my age. I was always with an older group of people, even from in high school. And a lot of people think I was a lot older than what I actually am, but because I just never hung with guys my age.
Well, now you look younger because you're in your mid-50s and you look great, by the way. And by the way, you were the front man of that band. I mean, I don't know how long, but as long as I've been following you guys, you were always the guy right there, front and center.
Yeah.
I would see you. I remember being at a festival somewhere in the part of the country, and you're on stage, and you look down, and you go, "What are you doing here, Scott?" Right in the middle of the song.
It happens like that, you know. Here's amazing. You get around a lot too, Scott.
Yeah. I used to get around a lot. Now I moved back home, and I'm loving New Orleans, being back.
It's hard to leave, huh?
It is hard to leave. And I got to ask you, being a New Orleanian yourself, and you've traveled, I mean, literally all over the world, and you do it much of the year sometimes. What do you tell people you're from New Orleans? Isn't there a sense of pride when you say that?
There's a great sense of pride being from New Orleans. New Orleans is such a unique place. There's nowhere in America like New Orleans.
No way.
We totally, different from any aspects of life in America, and it has its own unique thing. And it's just a great, great city, and a lot of great people here. And I'm just like people, you know, you can speak to people and they'll say hello, you know, just waving at people, smiles, you know, it's just something about the city. And you can tell the people from New Orleans, you can tell the ones who are not from New Orleans.
Well, and when you go overseas, that's my question here now, because what do they say? Because, I mean, New Orleans has a mystique, obviously, in the United States, but overseas as well. When you say somebody, say, in Europe, what's their first reaction usually?
Oh, New Orleans is a big mystique with it, you know. You know, for New Orleans, no matter if you're playing music or whatever, if you just say you're from New Orleans and you travel somewhere, it has a lot of respect. It carries a lot of weight around the world to a lot of people, no matter where you go. New Orleans is one of these bright things, you know, one of these cities in America that really lights people up, somewhat a city that gets people's attention. For some reason, it's a great history. It's one of the oldest cities in America. It's older than America.
I mean, you happy to be home most of the time right now? I mean,
I love being home right now, to tell you the truth. I mean, I travel many places. You know,
I mean, sometimes you're on the road for months. I remember,
yeah, since 1982 till last May, I've been on the road 9, 10 months out every year.
Well, you're still one of my favorite human beings. I wanted to let people know that you're doing your own thing. You're going to be, look for his name. Do you have a band name, or are you just going by E.T., Efrem Towns? How you doing it?
That's up to debate right now. There's a few names on it. I've been thinking self-employed. I've been thinking, you know.
I've heard.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, self-employed,
so
yeah.
if you see anywhere that says Efrem Towns, E.T., or self-employed or anything like that, also check the Maple Leaf thing, because he's going to be doing that. He's going to be right there. But, man, I wanted to come talk to you on air, and I love you so much, and I appreciate what you do for the city of New Orleans.
Hey, thank you, Scott. It's a pleasure.
And give me a big E.T. I'm giving him the purple. I tried with Kevin Hanson. Didn't work on a basketball. Give me a big E.T., because I want this to stand up. The first ever non-black signature. That's a purple one he's given. E.T., that's my man. What a great show. We can't do it without all the great people behind the scenes. Naila does such a fantastic job. She's doing the job of 4. Will Hill doing the job of 5 himself. He is the producer. Hey, we got a couple great interns too. Anthony and Taylor, 2 of the best. And everybody at WLE and CST, got to thank all of them, because without them, Primetime Sports is not here. We got to thank you as well. Appreciate you. We'll see you next week right here on Primetime Sports.